Are we drinking the Kool-Aid with this team?
Apparently.
What the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
We were talking about the Vegas line at one point, over under total wins for the Seahawks, 7.5. I think you said it got moved. Somebody told you it was 8.5 now.
Yes.
But 7.5, 8.5, I'm taking the over on that every day, and it doesn't feel like much of a thought yet. You got a lot of people that, national voices looking at this team that aren't nearly as optimistic. Sheil Kapadia, who used to cover the team, now works for the Ringer NFL podcast. He talked about why he gave the Seahawks a C for his offseason grade.
I'll be honest. I looked at this roster and I was like, if they had Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, I wonder what my prediction would be for this team, Mike McDonald, in year 2. Maybe with an offensive coordinator who I felt like had a stronger track record than Clint Kubiak. But the reason I didn't go lower is because I don't like the plan, but I do understand what they were potentially trying to do here. I don't agree with it. I don't agree with their assessments or their evaluations. And I don't think the downside is that low, because I think if they have a bad season, it's like they're going to, be back to the drawing board at quarterback, but they're really only locked into Darnold for one season when you look at kind of the guarantees there. So it comes down to, I don't buy that Darnold is going to be the same guy he was in Minnesota. And I don't buy that Clint Kubiak is like some kind of offensive savant who can coach around O-line deficiencies. And it's going to look totally different this year.
I wonder what he's referring to when he says, their plan, and I don't agree with it. I don't like it. What
He's
is
talking about offense, probably, what they're doing and what they're going to do with Sam Darnold. I mean, look, we all know this. I think Geno Smith was one of those quarterbacks that was, I think, locally we kind of shredded him apart a little bit about, some of the red zone interceptions. Mm-hmm. But nationally, I think, people who didn't watch a lot of Seahawk football and didn't go through, all of those things, they're looking at his completion percentage, and that's an acceptable number of interceptions. Not sure where they were thrown. And what was there, like 4 of them that were in the red zone, something like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think it has to be that. It has to be the quarterback position. Or, if you're somewhere else in the country, you're going, because I think it's an upgrade as far as, the offensive coaching staff. Just because I know, not only do I know some of the people they hired, but, kind of know of them. Like we know about Kubiak and the whole, offense that he brings with him. So, I mean, those two things have to be the reason why that it's at 8.5. Yeah,
and that makes sense. You and I talked about this before. Like, if you could have Geno Smith or Sam Darnold, who would you take? And I didn't think Geno is the greatest quarterback in the world, but I take Geno because I know what his resume is. I've seen him year after year. I know what he does well. I know what he doesn't do well. I know what with Sam, he had 6 years of one story. Yeah. Last year, completely different, where you're going, where did this come from? And then, as we talked about, the last 2 games, unfortunately the most consequential games of the season for him, look like the guy from the first 6 years. So I think questioning him is totally fair. He's got something to prove. And then we talked about the receiving core. Is it better right now with Cooper Kupp, JSN, and MVS? Or was it better with JSN, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett?
Yeah.
I think it's better with DK Metcalf, JSN, and Tyler Lockett, personally.
Well, and again, that's something that we knew that. We've seen them. Same thing with Geno in the quarterback position. We really don't know with Sam Darnold. I mean,
he might be better. Yeah. He might improve on last year. He might be a stud. I don't certainly allow for it. I'm not predicting he's going to be terrible, but I understand the questioning of him. I think that's fair.
Well, and I think that's where that comes from. And, so when you ask the question, are we drinking the Kool-Aid? Maybe a little bit, but I don't know. I just, based on what we saw, I always think positively, and just think, okay, this will work out and that will work out. I'm much more optimistic than I am pessimistic. And so maybe that's part of it. But the offensive coaches and the new system, no doubt, but especially the quarterback. Yeah. That's where I think the biggest question marks are.
Well, and to me, I'm looking at it going, all right, if Darnold isn't as good as Geno was, and this receiving core isn't as good as what you had last year, I'm betting on the fact that the defense is going to be even better than it was last year. In the second half of last year, they were one of the best in the league. And I think they're going to be that from the beginning of the year. So I think the defense is going to be even better than it was last year. I don't think it's possible for the O-line to take a step back. I think they are going to be better than they were last year.
Yeah.
Is it going to be marginal? Is it going to be significantly better? I don't know, but I'm counting on an improved O-line or O-line play. I'm not sure who the 5 guys are going to be. I just feel like they know it's an issue. There's a sense of urgency around it. We're going to get it fixed. They spend their first round pick on a guard. They understand what needs to happen there. So I think the O-line's going to be better. I think the defense will be decidedly better. So, all right, if those other 2 spots, now quarterback's the most important, I get it. But I feel like everything around it is going to be better, taking some of the heat off of Darnold, perhaps, in that receiving core.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so, yeah, I mean, it happens all the time. It was just, I don't know, that offensive staff last year, not every single coach, because they kept a few of those guys, like the running back coach, KP, Kennedy Polamalu. But, yeah, it just seemed like it was thrown together and and look, you can understand why. That was Mike McDonald's first year. He didn't know exactly what he wanted. Now he's got a year under his belt as a head coach going, okay, I know what I want. And I think one of those things has to be, we need to be able to pick up 3rd and 1.
Right. Right.
And we shouldn't have to throw it every time, because that's basically where they got last year. They got to in a couple of games where they had no choice except to just huck the ball up.
Steven Ruiz, who's part of the Ringer NFL podcast, talked about the Seahawks offense, and in his opinion, got much worse, especially compared to other top teams around the NFL.
And I think with these moves, especially on the defensive line, you have Ernest Jones for a full year, that you're going to see a better first and second down defense, which is going to make their third down defense even scarier.
Even better, right?
But offensively, they're the only team in the NFL that lost a top 10 quarterback, in my opinion. And that's what I think Geno Smith is. And like Deontay said, you're replacing them with the antithesis of what they needed, given their offensive line situation and what their problems were on offense last year.
So he's kind of echoing what we were just talking about. He thinks the defense is going to be even better. You got Ernest Jones from the beginning of the year. Hopefully Byron Murphy, his second year in the league, he's going to be a completely different version. Mm-hmm. But just even with his inexperience or just being a rookie out there, that defense took such a big step forward in the second half. So I'm really putting a lot on what they're going to be, and I think the O-line's going to be better. Maybe I'm foolish to think that, but I think they're that, look, we all look at it and go, that's a problem. They know what it is. They know every last detail of what this guy can and can't do and what this guy can and can't do. And we're putting this is an area of focus for them. And I think it's going to be better. To what extent, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the only drawback, or I guess criticism of the offensive line, is that during these little workouts, you don't find out anything. You just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be in pads. You got to be, going full speed. And so, but, look, I think you're going to have guards that can run, and and so we talked about the offensive line. If this draft choice is as solid as can be, and then you got Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas, I feel like in Gray Zabel, there's 3 of 5. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that. Okay, the center and the other guard, maybe the guy on either side of him can help him out.
Yeah, one last one before we hit the break here. Ben Solak, he did his NFL preview on ESPN. Seahawks are one of his 3 least improved teams. He said, here's what he wrote. Seahawks offseason got a ton of coverage, so we don't need to rehash it all. But when Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf leave the building for Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, you're downgraded in my eyes. The O-line still has big question marks, even if rookie Gray Zabel plays well. Coach Mike McDonald worked wonders with his defense last season and must do so again this year. So it seems to be kind of a consensus amongst some national voices out there that, they're taking a step back, which I guess speaks to that line in Vegas that seems sort of questioning. I was questioning that, but all right, I would still take the over. I would still take it. I think they're going to be a double-digit win team, and maybe at the end of the season, I'll be going, well, that was dumb.
Well, maybe, maybe. And maybe part of it is because of the it's not super punitive, the salary for Sam Darnold. I mean, they got
1 year.
They got it off pretty, what is it, 37, I think we said. Yeah. That would be that's not much of a gamble these days.